Welcome, fellow Hammers from across the globe, to the 23rd Annual KUMB Awards. I am delighted to be joined here tonight by the rest of the KUMB team, which for the purposes of this evening's online extravaganza includes myself, UTJ, plus Gnome, Bristol Hammer FC, the Pink Palermo, DL, and of course Rio. Going all the way back to 1997, when Harry Redknapp still held the managerial reins at Upton Park, readers of Knees Up Mother Brown have been voting on an annual basis for their favourites and not so favourite players that featured in the preceding campaign, including John Hartson, who was nominated as your very first KUMB Player of the Year at the end of the 1997-98 season. There have been no less than 20 different winners, although just one, Scott Parker, has won the award more than once. Parker, as he also did with the Hammer of the Year trophy, took the award on 3 occasions, 3 consecutive seasons between 2008 and 2010. Of the current first team squad, only Mark Noble, Aaron Cresswell and Manuel Lanzini can count themselves as previous winners. And with none of the trio thought to be in the running for this season's main award, we are all set to crown a 21st winner tonight. But who will it be? Stay tuned to find out. There is, of course, much more to tonight's show than just crowning the 2019-20 KUMB Player of the Year. There are, of course, an additional 11 categories to name your winners in, those being Young Player of the Year, Best Signing, Most Improved Player, Goal of the Season, Most Memorable Match, Most Missed, Worst Player of the Year, Worst Signing, Greatest Disappointment, and Hackett of the Year, our category named after Keith Hackett, of course, the referee that so memorably sent off Tony Gow in dreadful circumstances. Well, circumstances were normal, but the decision was just dreadful in the FA Cup 1991 semi-final against Nottingham Forest. We also have a brand new category this year, Your Most Memorable Moment, and we'll be revealing the winner of that very, very soon. In all, we received just over 16,000 votes for tonight's awards via KUMB.com and our social media platforms, a record number of entries for the awards. For that, we'd like to thank all of you who took the time to cast your votes and for keeping these alternative supporter awards very much alive and kicking. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first of tonight's awards, which is for the most missed category. And for the results, I'm going to hand you over to Bristol Hammer FC. Briz, good to see you again, buddy. Before we begin, of course, should we run through who you nominated in all 12 categories this year?
Yeah, we can do. So in the most missed category, I nominated Arnie. I think we missed his goals. We missed his creativity up front. We had a kind of Arnie light and Antonio, but I think we missed him. Do you want me to go through the others as well?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Do them all now.
So my player of the year was Declan Rice. I couldn't think of another player who's been better than him this year. I think he's been outstanding. In every game I've seen him play, he's been the standout player in the team.
Yep.
My young player, I went for Johnson, just because I think he's got a great future ahead of him. My signing was Bowen. I think he's been terrific since he started for us. My most improved was Ogbonna. I think he's been a different player this season. It's absolutely outstanding. My memorable game was the game against Manchester United, which I thought was just had everything.
The 2-0 win at home.
The 2-0 win, yeah, sorry. My memorable moment was the David and Alvin Martin embrace. My favourite goal was the Yarmolenko one against Bournemouth. I thought it was a great team play and a great finish from Yarmolenko.
Okay.
Worst player, Roberto. Worst signing, Roberto.
Ooh,
my disappointing moment was the being stuck in a relegation battle, because I think we had more in the team than that. And I think we were really kind of let down by that. My Hackett was VAR. I can't think of anything worse in football at the moment. And that's it, I think, for it.
1, 2, 3. Yes, you're right. I'm just counting them up. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'll be asking the rest of the team for their nominations as we go through the various awards. So we'll all get our chance to share that info as we push on. But as I said, without further ado, Briz, let's get down to the first category. This is, of course, I've totally forgot. Was it most missed? Of
Most
course,
missed.
I'm looking for my list. I've just found it again. The most missed player in reverse order, please. The top three as voted for by the KUMB readers.
Okay, so in third place with 11% of the vote was Grady Diagana. In second place with 24% of the vote was Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
And in first place, with a massive 58% of the vote, was a player who was moodier than a Bristolian listening to DL's accent. And that was Marko Arnautovic.
Marko Arnautovic taking the most missed. Now, that's an interesting one because obviously the circumstances in which he left were fairly dark, I suppose. But people have gone back. Was that 3 and 5, 58%, 3 and 5 votes going for Arnautovic. He was, of course, a triple winner 2 years ago in the KUMB Awards. He won Player of the Year, Best Signing and Most Improved Player in 2017-18. Obviously nothing last year because he left under that dark cloud. But here he is again, winning the most missed player. Pinky shaking his head in disdain there. You're not a fan of Arnautovic, are we to assume?
No. The way he engineered his move, sorry, burnt his bridges, and the only award he's getting from me is the biggest pillock of the year. Glad he's in China. Hope he's having a truly miserable time over there. I'm sorry, but no. You know, and when he got the pay rise and all the rest of it, I think we'd just been done at Wimbledon or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
You know, do me a favour. Most missed. You know what? I'm glad he's in China. Good riddance.
I don't suppose, Pinky, therefore, you'll be backing any calls for him to come back to West Ham next season. Not that we've seen any for a bit, of course. But DL, welcome to the show, buddy. Good to see you again. What do you think about that one? Arnautovic a worthy winner, or would you have? Well, we're going to find out who you would have gone for, of course, soon. But what do you think about the award?
Whilst I have to agree with my learned colleague, good riddance. From a purely footballing perspective, yes, the most missed. It's between him and Adrian, which it was. So I'm not coming up with anything new. So Arnautovic, I miss his goals. And I quite like the moody old bugger anyway. But he did burn his bridges when he came back and said, I'm back. You know, well, you shouldn't have gone anywhere, mate. What do you mean you're back? Bugger off. And then that was it. Basically, good riddance to him.
Good riddance, says DL. Rio, good to see you again, buddy. How you doing?
Okay, thank you, mate.
Good. As with the other chaps, of course, we'll be coming to your votes a little bit later. On this one, Marko Arnautovic, 58% of the vote. First KUMB award for 2 years. What do you think about it? Would he have been your choice?
He wasn't my choice, actually, but I went kind of left field for that one.
Okay.
But
we'll find out soon.
Disagree with DL and Pinky. From a footballing point of view, it was an absolute miss and a half.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've been crying out for a forward all year. Some that support Heller. He's got mercurial talent, Arnautovic. But the way he engineered that move, sorry, but you tarnished everything you did well at this club.
Yes, it's a common theme, isn't it? I mean, he did sort of talk about coming back, but you do get the feeling that he wouldn't be universally welcomed were that to happen. Noam, good to see you, my friend. How are you?
Evening. Yeah, not bad at all.
Excellent. Marko Arnautovic, our first winner of the evening, the most missed player. Do you agree with that?
No. Did we miss him? I mean, he scored goals. Did he score any? I think Antonio effectively replaced him.
Yeah.
I can't really sort of counter anything that was already said. His goals when he was in the mood to score, fine. But I think there was stuff behind the scenes that meant he might not have been all that popular with his teammates as well.
Mm-hmm.
Did we miss that? Nah, not for me.
Not missed at all, says Noam. So there you go. That's the first of our 12 categories this evening. The most missed player of the year, the player who basically left at the end of last, at some point during last season, and for pastures new. The other nominees in that category we've had Arnautovic. We've had Adrian and Grady Diangana, who of course spent the season on loan at West Brom, and I'm sure he'll figure at some point again in these awards tonight. The other players nominated for that were Sam Byram, Andy Carroll. I think he was too much missed, given he barely played. Edmilson Fernandez, Javier Hernandez, Pedro Obiang, Reece Oxford, and Lucas Perez. We lost quite a fair few players at the end of last season, but not too many that were missed. I think looking at the figures there, the top three accounted for 93% of the vote. So there wasn't really an awful lot of players who people felt were really missed. So anyway, there you go. First category of the evening out of the way, most missed. We're moving on to the second of the evening, which is the best signing of the season. Looking at the nominees quickly before I pass you over to Rio for this one. They were Albion Aieti, Jared Bowen, Gonzalo Cardoso, Pablo Fornals, Roberto Jimenez Gago. Fairly certain he won't feature in this one. Sebastian Haller, David Martin, David Moyes, Darren Randolph, and Thomas Souček. Rio, the best signing of the year award. I can think of at least two who are going to be receiving a lot of votes in this particular category. Over to you for the results there, my friend.
Yep. So in third place in this particular category was Pablo Fornals. The runner-up, Jared Bowen.
Ooh.
And a pretty dominant runaway winner, Thomas Souček, who is the first person to sign mid-season and win the award since Rufus Brevett in 2003.
Well, there you go. 17 years since he came in. But what an impact he's made at the club, Rio, since he came in. Was it the last day of January or the last week, a few days before maybe? Great signing though, yes, the deserved winner.
Well and truly, he's been an absolute revelation since he's been here. We've been crying out for someone to fill that role for far, far too long. He's come in and done it with aplomb. He's great going forward. He's an aerial threat.
Yep.
He defends well. He gets up and down that pitch. And he's an absolute steal at that price as well.
Yes, what was it? Roughly 13 million West Ham are believed to have paid to bring him on a permanent contract. Pinky, a worthy winner on this occasion, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. He's come in and he's done a job that we really need doing, and I think he's given the club a bit of a lift, to be honest, at a vital time. And you talk about momentum or moments in games or seasons. Had he not arrived, we'd be in the Championship, that's for sure. So yeah, well worthy winner.
Yeah, his impact certainly can't be underestimated. DL Thomas Souček taking, what was it, Rio? He took 73% of the vote.
Yeah,
pretty overwhelming winner, really. In looking at that,
Bit cracking signing. I really like him. One thing that Rio didn't say is he plays with a smile on his face as well. He seems like an happy chappy, that's what I like to see. A trier, good player, and plays with a smile on his face. And well deserved, very well deserved. It's going to take a big performance next season for somebody to get a vote like him, really. Yeah,
for sure. He's certainly got his West Ham career off to a great start. Pinky says that he feels that we might have been relegated if it wasn't for Souček's involvement and impact over the course of the last few months. Do you think that's a fair statement?
It's certainly a possibility. When he signed, he played his first game, and he played one or two games and promptly got injured. And even after just a game or two, we missed him when he was injured. I think he had a slight groin strain, which had us all worried for a bit. But when he came back, and apart from anything else, he scores goals. We've been struggling up front. So you need, when you've only got the one proper forward, and he's not scoring that many goals, you need your midfield to, sort of contribute. And he's good in the air. You've seen him score with headers. What the hell's he doing with us?
Yeah, I mean, is it? I think Kevin Nolan was the last midfielder to score more than 10 goals in a season. I think before that it was Frank Lampard Jr., wasn't it? But do you think he can hit double figures next season?
Yeah, for sure. Just based on the sort of average. I mean, I don't know how many goals he got in the end. It maybe seems more than it actually was because of their importance. But he's certainly got an eye for goal, and he certainly had. I mean, he was having shots blocked as well that were goal bound, and it wasn't a fluke when he scored. It was there was somebody who's used to doing that.
Yes. So a worthy winner by all accounts. Rio, I didn't ask you for your nominations in all the categories. So do you want to run through those quickly before we carry on?
Yes, certainly. Well, my player of the year was Angelo Bonner. Young player of the year for me was Declan Rice. Best signing, I agreed, Thomas Souček. Most improved player, again, Angelo Bonner, who I thought was excellent last season, but he's stepped up a gear this season.
Yep.
Most memorable match was a 3-2 win at home to Chelsea,
which we, of course, covered live on Eyes Up Mother Brown a few weeks ago. Great stuff.
My most memorable moment was also against Chelsea, but it was at Stamford Bridge with Alvin and David Martin in the stands.
Yep.
My goal of the season was Aaron Cresswell at home to Manchester United.
The free kick, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
The worst player and the worst signing, who else? Mr. Roberto. The greatest disappointment was losing more points from a winning position than any other team in the league.
Yep.
Hackett the year, it can only be VAR for me. And my most missed, which is going to be really controversial, but I have my reasons, Andy Carroll.
Andy Carroll. Well, why don't you share with us? What are those reasons?
Little Jack's been in the injury room all on his own all season. We don't look after him. So, and also, in a time where the NHS is struggling with funding, we must have been pumping millions at that, looking after them too. So we've caused a national shortage of probably medical equipment around the world here.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, he certainly kept the doctors busy at the club, didn't he, for the last year? I think he was last year's worst player of the year, if I remember right, voted as last season's worst player of the year. But we'll be coming to worst player a little bit later. Thank you, Rio, for your nominations there. We are going to move on to category number 3 now, which I'm going to call the Pink Palermo in to issue the results for, and that is the worst signing category. There were a few options. We've just read the options. It's the same as the best signing, of course. Aieti, Boeing, Cardoso, Fornals, Roberto, Haller, Martin, David Moyes, Randolph, and Souček. Before we get into the results, Pinky, can we have your nominations, please, for tonight? Who did you go for in the 12 categories?
Okay, most missed, I went for Adrian. Main, I think he wanted to be here.
Yeah,
and what a great story for him.
Yes,
he
yes.
leaves the club. He's training with his hometown, club just to stay fit, and the phone rings and it's Liverpool. The rest, as they say, is history. So he was the most missed. Best signing for me, Souček by a mile. I think Bowen was very good, and in fairness, Fornals, he showed a work rate that a few others could emulate. So
yeah.
But Souček won it. Worst signing for me. Well, there's only one candidate for me there. I'll come back to that in due course. Most improved player for me was Antonio. A couple of seasons back away at Palace, he did something for me which I never thought I'd forgive him for. But when we really needed him to do it this year, he did it for us. So well played, Mikhail, for sure. Worst player of the year. I think you can all guess. Goal of the season for me, probably Yarmo against Chelsea. And memorable match would be the Chelsea away game. Where I'd go there for all sorts of reasons. I think if you do the mile, if you travel, winning away is what you live for, and if you do it at another London club, that isn't Crystal Palace, then you're always happy. Young Player of the Year had to be Rice. No question about it.
Yep.
Did he play every minute of every game?
He did. Yeah, he was one of a handful of players who did in the entire Premier League.
Biggest disappointment for me. What did I go with for that? I think it was just the relegation scrap again. It's here we go again. Same shirt, different thing. VAR was the Hackett. The memorable moment, obviously, was Alvin and David at the bridge. Probably, closely followed by, in my mind, what Declan Rice did for Dennis Lepine, which I thought was a wonderful gesture from a professional footballer.
For those who may be unaware of what you're referring to, Pinky, do you want to explain what?
Yeah,
what's all about?
Dennis, sadly, before he passed away, Declan, called a visit around his house, gave him a big hug and all that sort of thing. And for all the grief that players get, and they're told they're aloof, this, that, or the other, what a lovely, lovely thing. What a lovely thing for him to have done. So that was a memorable moment as well. And Player of the Year has to be Rice for me. Has to be. You can play every minute, every game. You're going to do that. But to head back to the worst signing, which I think is what I've been designated to go with.
Yes, so our third category of the night is the worst signing of the season. Interestingly, before you read those out, this category received the most votes in social media. Don't know what that signifies, but I just thought I'd point it out. Anyway, Pinky, over to you. Okay,
well, in third place, club record signing Sebastian Haller with 2% of the votes. But, who'd be a chairman? Who'd weigh out 40 odd million and then see him come in as one of the worst signings, for the club? In second place, the absolute legend, never to be forgotten, but he has gone already, Albion Ajeti, and he's picked up 4% of the votes, which is kind of appropriate, really. It's like a nothing vote, isn't it?
Yeah.
But winner by a country mile, by an absolute landslide, they'd be pleased of in the Andes mountain range. Roberto Jimenez Gago with 92% of the vote as the worst signing of the year. And anyone that saw him away at Burnley that day, when he literally threw the ball in the net, and we're all stood there. I had a miserable afternoon anyway, because I bumped into Nome, and there was a massive queue in the cricket club and all that sort of stuff. And then we just stood there and we watched Roberto and I feel a bit mean for this, but what a lonely position on the football field. You're goalkeeper. You're a striker. You can miss 30 chances in a game. No one really bothers about it. You're a goalkeeper. No one ever forgets it. And makes you wonder why they do it. But yeah, he won it by a mile.
And clearly no one has forgot it, with more than 9 in 10 voters going for our errant goalkeeper, who is the most comprehensive winner of this year's awards with an incredible 92% of the vote. Briz, there was only ever going to be one winner of this category, wasn't there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I was looking up some stats on him earlier on just for tonight, and obviously making a guess that he would come up in one or two categories.
Yes.
And it said Roberto Spain under 21. I wondered if that was the amount they were hoping that they weren't conceding. I saw Pellegrini say that he got fired because of Roberto, because his performance was not as expected. Well, if ever there was an understatement, it was that.
So, yes, Roberto, yeah, of course. Oh, Burnley, what a shocker. I mean, we couldn't believe what was going on there, could we? And, I've just got that vision in my mind of Declan Rice, I think it was Nome, turning round to look at him and just kind of not even remonstrating with him, because you could almost read that they expected it to happen. It was that bad.
It was so bad. I mean, that third goal, and like nobody could actually. I mean, I've said this before on here. I'm sure that nobody could quite believe what had happened, and the ref ordered a VAR check because he couldn't believe that a goalkeeper had actually done that. And Yeah, surely did. There must have been a foul in there somewhere. Nope. So,
Yeah.
Burnley away. Yeah.
But,
Yeah,
but
a shocking
the
day out,
strange
Pinky.
thing
I
being-
nearly banished it out of my mind until Pinky brought that up just a minute ago. Cheers, mate.
Yeah. But the strange thing being, in the run of 6 games that he featured, and we picked up just 1 point from 6 games, in the corresponding fixtures in the second part of the season, when he wasn't in goal, we picked up just 2 points. So whilst his performances were shocking and in many ways memorable, in materiality, it was only a point worse than what the other keeper did. So maybe we're all being a touch harsh.
Rio, do you think we're being a touch harsh from Roberto?
Having watched him, no, we're not being harsh enough. But if the rumours are true, he's about to rejoin Atletico Madrid.
Well, that is astonishing,
which
isn't
will
it?
be the 4th time in his career he's gone back there. And if we get him 4 times, I still think the whole support will be wiped out with shock, really. So there's nothing more I can really add. I mean, as soon as he come on against Bournemouth, you could sense the whole playing staff just shrink into their own shell and dread what was coming. And if only we'd taken heed of that.
Yeah, that unfortunate injury on the day to Lucas Fabianski meant that Roberto was thrust upon us for that game. And as Pinky says, I had a run of 6 games when we failed to pick up anything more than 1 point. Really did for him at the club. And obviously shunted out on loan in January. DL, Roberto, 92% of the vote. Is the surprise there not that he got such a large number of votes, or that 8% of the people who responded didn't vote for him?
I think that's the most surprising thing, that somebody thought others were worse.
Yeah.
I've never known anyone quite as shocking in goal, to be honest. I remember me little when I was about 3, we were playing football in the garden. I was whacking them past him like I was Maradona. It was like that, really, when he was in goal. It was just unbelievable. I've got to try and remember that we're live, you see, and I've got to keep my language down, and I've got to behave.
Yes, sir.
And it's just occasions then, when I wanted to say what I really felt about him, but no. The biggest surprise is that he never got 100%. I think whoever done it must have bad eyesight and clicked the wrong one or something, because it was just shocking, wasn't he? There is other words for it, but not on a live broadcast.
Yeah, certainly not repeatable. Thank you for keeping those words in check. Roberto, 92%, 2% for Sebastian Haller, as Pinky pointed out. I'm assuming that's purely on the basis that those fans were slightly disappointed with the value for money we got for the French striker. Albion Ayeti took 4% of the vote. Didn't start a game for West Ham, but he's already played in the Champions League since going to Celtic. He came on as a late sub in their 6-0 win over, I think it was Reykjavik they played the other night. So there you go. Another former Hammer going on to play in the Champions League, but still no goal for Celtic. But give me his dues, he only played about 15 minutes. But there you go. That's category number 3 wrapped up. We've had 3 results in so far. Just a brief recap. The most missed player was Marko Arnautovic. Your best signing, Thomas Souček. And your worst signing, of course, it had to be, didn't it? It was Roberto with the most comprehensive win in any category tonight with 92% of the vote. We are going to move swiftly on to the 4th category of the evening, for which I'm going to call in Gnome to give us the votes on this one. This is an interesting one. You do get the odd category, that's like the one we've just done, where, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion who's going to win. Most improved category, rarely the case. And I think that's proved to be the case once again this evening. Gnome, before we get into that, though, let's have your votes. Who did you go for in these 12 categories?
Right, sort of no particular order.
Mm-hmm.
I went for Adrian as most missed, mainly for his ability not to throw the ball into his own net at Burnley. Best signing, I went with everyone else with Souček. Worst signing, Roberto. Yeah, I tried to be sort of cute and think of a weird nomination for that one, but no, there wasn't any.
Couldn't be done.
Most improved, I went for Antonio. Similar to Pinky. Back in the day, it just seems to have wised up a little bit. I mean, you're still not 100% sure if it's going to go in the back of the net or row Z, but you're getting more confident that he'll score than we once might have been the case. Well, that was most improved. Worst player of the year, well, Roberto. Goal of the season, I went with the third against Chelsea, Yarmolenko.
Yarmolenko, yep.
For two reasons. One, what that goal meant, and that really sort of kick-started the post-COVID recovery process, really. But secondly, it was actually a damn fine goal. We had the ball played up, Antonio controlling it, playing it back to Antonio. Lovely ball into Yarmolenko's part, sort of a fine finish. So that got my one. Most memorable match, again, I went for the same game, the Chelsea at home game. Could easily have been Chelsea away as well, but I went for the home one. Young player of the year. I think I might have voted for Johnson on this one. I'm trying to remember, purely on the grounds that, I mean, really, it was Declan Rice, but I figured he'd sort of outgrown the category a little bit. But, yeah, he's still in there. So, greatest disappointment, another relegation battle again. Hackett of the year, well, VAR. And memorable moment, I went for the David Martin Alvin hugging. And player of the year, I went for Declan Rice. So that's my my listings.
Excellent. Good stuff. And so moving on to category number 4, our most improved player. Let's have the top 3 in reverse order, please, sir.
Right, in reverse order. In third place with 21% of the vote was Declan Rice. Only 5% between first and second place here. In second place was Michael Antonio on 30%. And the winner, who was the runner-up for Player of the Year in 17-18 and had the third place award for Best Goal in 17-18. But winner, Most Improved Player of the Year was Angelo Ogbonna, who scored 35% of the vote.
Excellent stuff. Yeah, as you said, very, very close, this one. Only 5% between the top 2 there. Now, interestingly, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we conducted the poll this year over 3 different platforms on the website at kumb.com and on our social media channels on Facebook and on Twitter. And as I say, interestingly, each one produced a different winner. Twitter went for Angelo Ogbonna. Facebook, the KUMB Facebook group, went for Declan Rice. And Knees Up Mother Brown, the website kumb.com, went for Mikhail Antonio. So there was, it was really a sort of, very, very close. Not an awful lot between them on any of them. But you said you went for Antonio, I think, didn't you know him for this one? But thoughts on Ogbonna? Reasonable...
Yeah, a worthy winner. I couldn't argue with that. I just felt that the impact Antonio had, particularly in that sort of Project Restart running, to me had more of an impact. But I've got no beef with Ogbonna winning it. I can quite see the case for that.
DL, you went for, we don't know who you went for yet because you haven't given us out your results, have you? Your votes. But would you agree with that? Ogbonna, a worthy shout in this one?
It was a worthy shout. I don't think he was the most improved player.
Okay.
I think the most improved player was one I've advocated selling, which is Mr. Antonio. Selling while his stock is high.
Yes, another year left on his contract. They're talking about a 2-year extension, aren't they? Which will keep him here till he's 33, I guess.
No.
But Ogbonna it is. Thank you, DL. Rio, good shout. Do you think you went for? Let's have a look. You went for Ogbonna, didn't you? You went for the winner, of course.
Yeah. I've always been a bit of a fan of his. But what I've liked this season is that after last season, where he become much more of a bit part player, didn't he? Because Balbuena and Diop had cemented that partnership together.
Yeah.
And in a season where we've defended absolutely awfully, he's been the one who stepped up to the mark, led by example, and without him, we'd be down. We'd have been relegated because we was absolutely atrocious at defending at times.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because he hasn't sort of been viewed as one of our best defenders in recent seasons, has he? But certainly stepped up to the plate this year.
Yeah, definitely, and it's a noticeable difference at how well he has done. You know, from a kind of a bit part player over the last couple of years, you thought he might be leaving, and he comes in while all around him fell. He stepped up to the plate, as you said, and made us a bit more respectable than we've looked.
Yes, a very, very good season. I mean, Briz, I think prior to lockdown, Ogbonna was considered to be one of the, if not the leading contender for the Hammer of the Year award, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think for me, pushed Rice. I mean, Rice was out there in front, but I think for me, he would have been my runner-up. He was absolutely brilliant. I think sometimes you've got to look for a little bit of consistency in defence. You look for someone who's going to anchor that defence, keep the ball well, play it out from the back, but also make those last-ditch tackles. For me, just echoing what everyone else said, I think he was invaluable in that. I thought he had probably maybe 1 year left on his contract. I'd rather be given the extended contract to him than I would Antonio, to be honest. But I thought he was brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Certainly stepped up to the plate, as I said, and had a great season. Pinky, you went for Antonio, who was our runner-up very, very narrowly, but sure you wouldn't complain, would you, about Ogbonna winning it either?
No, not at all. I think he had a very good season, but I think he's possibly won it as a centre-back based on what was alongside him more than what he's done, and I don't mean that in the positive sense. I think we've got a real problem in that part of our team and our squad. Angelo's been the pick of the bunch, and fair play to him. But despite being fairly solid all year, I wouldn't put him in the spectacular category. He's no Alvin Martin, let's put it that way. So
he's no Manuel da Costa.
He's done okay. But, when you compare him against the absolute best we've had, he's not getting in there, is he? So, I'd say the fact that there were three players vying for it this year, that category kind of tells me that no one really stood out. But yeah, Ogbonna, decent season.
Yeah, very, very decent indeed. It's Ogbonna's first KUMB award since 2018, a season in which he was he didn't win any. He was runner-up player of the year 2 years ago, and took third place in goal of the season in 2017-18. But a first win for Ogbonna in any category. So congratulations to our Italian centre half there. Yes, I think it's a very good point you make there, Pinky, actually, about the standing out in a pretty average defence all round, really, last season. So that is category number 4, our most improved player, Angelo Ogbonna, pipping Mikhail Antonio to the post by a few votes and 5% of the overall score. Category number 5 we are on to now, which is the worst player of the season. DL, we're going to ask you to read out the top 3 in reverse order, if you would, on this one. But once again, before we do that, can we have your 12 nominations for all the categories, please?
Yeah, most missed. I actually did have Marco Arnautovic for the reasons that I gave earlier on.
Yeah.
Best signing, Suchek, again for the reasons I gave earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
Worst signing, goes without saying, doesn't it, really? Most improved player, I had Antonio.
Okay.
For that one. He did look a different player. After the lockdown, I hasten to add, he didn't seem to be particularly improved throughout the whole season.
Yeah.
In fact, for the past 18 months before lockdown, he was pretty ordinary, to be honest, in between injuries. So what we got? Worst player of the year. In third place, we have our Brazilian maestro Felipe Anderson with 4% of the vote. In second place, we have, he's Colombian, isn't he? Carlos Sanchez.
Yep.
He had 12% of the vote. And in first place, we have Roberto.
Had to be.
A phenomenal. Hang on, I can't say now. I've got to take my glasses.
82, I think that says.
82%
Could see it from here.
Yes, 82%. So pretty self-explanatory. We don't need to drag him through the hedge again, do we? We know he was awful. He did a bit of a car crash, really.
Yes, absolutely. And well done for a second time for failing to refer to expletives when talking about our goalkeeper. Yeah, it's an unwanted double for Roberto in this year's KUMB Awards. Worst player, and he'd already taken the worst signing award, which is actually not an uncommon thing. It's quite happens quite frequently that players win both awards. Interestingly, our runner-up there, Carlos Sanchez, was runner-up last year as well to Andy Carroll on that occasion. So 2 years in a row, he's been in the top three, and I think that's quite a unique achievement.
I just realised I ended on the category 5, didn't I?
Well, yes, I was going to come back to you on that. We've still got your... Shall I take you through them, or have you got your list? You know where you are?
I've got my list now in my phone. I'm so prepared.
Okay.
Goal of the season. I did like Cresswell's versus Man United. I thought that was a sweet free kick.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Most memorable match. The 3-2 against Chelsea was the one that gave us hope. Plus, we played really blooming well. Young Player of the Year. I chose Declan for that one.
Mm-hmm.
Greatest disappointment was the points lost from winning positions. There are seasons where if we score first, you think we're going to go on and win.
Yeah.
There's seasons where if they score first, like in 2015-16, you still think that we're good enough to still win the game. This season, you just thought we were going to lose every single one of them, really.
What was it, 24 points? I think we lost from winning positions this year. It's certainly the highest in the league.
I thought 24, 27, something like that. No,
yeah, could be more. Could be more.
Absolutely shocking. Hackett of the Year. Mine was VAR. It's ruined football totally. Most memorable moment was my memorable moment weren't in the poll. So
what was that?
The one.
What was that? What was your most memorable
that was
moment?
Taking Isaac to his first game.
Oh, of course. We spoke about this, didn't we, recently? Yeah.
Of the season. But other than that, Alvin and David at Chelsea.
Mm-hmm.
And the player of the season, I would actually have. I gave mine to Angelo Bonner because although he's a defender and we conceded loads and loads of goals, the only other bloke really in the running, I don't think was particularly consistent this season at the first in the start of the season. He had quite a few stinkers where he was anonymous. But you know, that's not to put him down at all, not at all. But throughout the whole season, the player that stood up to the plate and been completely consistent for me when he's been in the team has been Angelo Bonner, and he got my vote.
Okay, sorry, just quickly, what was your favourite game of the season?
It was the Chelsea game.
The home game, yeah. Okay, thanks a lot. It's a double for Roberto, Breeze. Is that any surprise at all? Worst player, worst signing.
Again, what can you say? We've said it already, haven't we? I mean, the bloke was appalling. He cost Pellegrini his job. We went on a shocking run of low confidence following him coming in. I was looking for people around in the stands that we could have stuck in goal. It would have been easier, but it was just awful, absolutely awful. I think even the other teams were kind of laughing at him at one point, and were feeling sorry for us, I think, which always goes to show something. Other fans were kind of messaging, going, really sorry that you've got this guy in goal. You know, how bad does it need to be for that to happen? God.
Yeah, I'm sure we don't need to dwell on this one, but Noam, a few words about Roberto taking both worst player and worst signing.
Yeah, the signs were there right from the second he walked onto the pitch. down at Bournemouth, and we're stood there, and you can often tell how good a goalkeeper is by the reaction of the defenders around him, and they looked petrified the second he came on. They were thinking twice about passing back to him, and as it turned out, with good reason. So yeah, I mean, I think we can put this one to bed. Maybe never see him again.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely he's ever going to wear a West Ham shirt again. Rio, anything to add to that?
Not really. I mean, all I can really add is he wore the number 13 shirt. It's unlucky for some. He's unlucky for 55,000 West Ham fans every week that they put up with him.
Beautifully summed up. And Pinky, anything else about, final say on Roberto? I'm sure we'll never hear him again especially tonight in the rest of the awards anyway.
All I'll say is it does make you wonder where the money goes in football, because people are paid big money to make big judgments about professional players. How could they get it so wrong?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, do they actually really know what they're doing, or are they just guessing? Terrible, terrible, terrible signing.
Yeah, and was it Briz? I think it was Briz who said he cost. Was it you, Briz, who said that you felt he cost Pellegrini his job? It might have been Dion. Yeah. You, Briz. Thank you.
No, it was me. Pellegrini said in February that he thought the main reason of him getting the sack was down to Roberto, who, interestingly, before he came to us, was owned by the corporate company that owned, I think it was Zaragoza or Benfica or something like that, but had a really kind of interesting third-party ownership thing going on, which is an interesting read if you want to look at Roberto for any reason.
Yeah, I'm like most Hammers. I'm not sure I want to spend any more time reading or watching Roberto, but thank you. An interesting point nonetheless. So there it is. Our fifth award of the evening goes to Roberto, who gets that unwanted double of worst player and worst signing of the year. We are going to move on to category number 6 now. And for this, I'm going to come back to Rio. If you would give us the results, please, my friend. This is I like this one. This is always a good category. Goal of the season. Now, interestingly, we haven't been blessed with too many outstanding goals, I don't think, this year. There hasn't been sort of, the real standout goal that you quite often get, or even one or two that you get throughout a season. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes. Rio, can we have the results, please, in reverse order?
Certainly. In third place, which was my choice, Aaron Creswell's free kick at home to Man United, which picked up 13% of the vote.
Mm-hmm.
In second place, Andrei Yarmolenko's goal against Chelsea at home, which won it in the last minute, with 37% of the vote. And the winner, and possibly more, not only his first award of the night, we have to see, Declan Rice, for his goal against Watford, picked up 44% of the vote. Fine strike indeed.
It certainly was. And the goal, of course, it was a strange one, wasn't it? Actually, because who was the keeper? Was it Foster? I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Only a few weeks ago, wasn't it? The brain's going. Foster just kind of sunk to his knee, didn't he? And it was a strange one. Didn't even make an effort to save it. Very odd.
It absolutely Alan roughed it, didn't he? Just sat there and took a knee.
Yeah, took the knee a bit later than everyone else,
exactly.
Didn't he? Briz, yes, Declan Rice. The top two, I think they're Rice and Yarmolenko. Between them, took over 80% of the vote, so it was always going to be close between those. In the end, Rice won it, but a deserved winner in your opinion?
Yeah, Rice doesn't score simple goals, does he? It's always a screamer from Rice when he scores. A special mention for Yarmolenko, though. He's been on the end of some really good goals for us this season. And I think if he can stay fit and we play him in the right way, he could be a really good player for us next season. And I hope we hold on to him. Yeah,
now, I did mention that one of the awards earlier was won by 3 different players. This is another one that didn't go to the same player across all 3 votes. Twitter, KUMB's Twitter followers and the KUMB.com website both went for Declan Rice, but the KUMB Facebook group voted Yarmolenko as our winner. So it was another one that was really, really tight, but not a lot between them, really, DL, those two goals, do you think?
I think Yarmolenko shades it for me because of Ben Foster. If he was in a better position, I think it was savable.
It was a strange one.
Yarmolenko's, it was a well-worked goal for the Antonio cross through to him. And he just knew as soon as the ball landed to his feet, you knew he was going to bury it. Yeah. But no, what Rice is a worthy winner. He's a worthy winner. When it didn't get mentioned on the commentary, but they panned to Ben Foster when he took his knee, and he actually said, "Wow." Whether that was for Declan's goal or the fact that he really actually could have done a whole lot better, I don't know. But he did actually say, "Well," I was quite impressed. I think it was a good goal, but not as good as Yarmolenko's, in my humble opinion.
Yeah, sure. Pinky, perhaps a little bit of a surprise that Yarmolenko, given the importance of the goal, I think it'd be hard judged to find one better than Yarmolenko's. But Rice, it's a fine strike, wasn't it? Great finish.
Yeah, very, very, very good finish. And, I think sometimes goals scored by players who you don't normally expect to score kind of bumps them up a few positions.
Yeah.
I think had we all been in the ground when Yarmo scored, I think he would have romped it because, that's then you get the whole emotional side of it going in. It's all well and good, pump in the air when you're sat at home watching it on the telly and all the rest of it. But trust me, we all know the feeling when you're there. Late winners, or even if you're somewhere where you'd normally get trounced and you snatch a point, Old Trafford, wherever it may be, they're the things, because we're not winning any trophies anytime soon. So you take your small individual victories, and so for both Rice and Yarmo, good efforts. I'll confess, it's nearly a year ago now. I can't even remember Cresswell's goal. Early in the season, and what can you do? I don't think we've had a vintage season for scoring goals, that's for sure. But it's been the most bizarre season ever. So, well done, Declan Rice.
Yeah, quite fitting in that respect. Noam, you went for Yarmolenko against Chelsea as well in this one, but no issues, I guess, with Declan Rice winning his first award of the night.
It would be churlish, wouldn't it? Good strike. At the time, there were question marks about the goalkeeping for it. It's just in the nature of these things. Whenever you see goal of the season on match of the day, invariably the winning goal is some sort of 35-yard screamer. And I always prefer a goal with a bit of a build-up to it, and which is why doubly that Yarmolenko one I thought was such a good candidate for it. But it was
fantastic, wasn't it?
Yeah. If you can't argue it, the people have spoken. They're wrong, but the people have spoken.
The people have indeed spoken, and Declan Rice wins the Goal of the Season award for the first time ever. He's also taken, it's his first award since winning Young Player of the Year in 2017 and 2018 and 2019, back-to-back wins there. He was also your most improved player. Not yours personally, no, he may well have been, but the people who voted, he certainly was, in 2017-18, and the runner-up as most improved player last season. So Declan Rice beginning to build himself a nice little array of KUMB awards there. He may even get more tonight, you never know. I'm just having a quick look back at some of the goals that have won this award over the years. And I wonder how many of these you can remember. I'll reel off all 20 if you can bear with me for a couple of minutes. But there's some absolute crackers here. And perhaps we could one day do a best of the best just to see what wins it. But our very first goal of the season was John Hartson goal against Aston Villa in 97-98. At 98-99, I'm sure you all remember this one. Stan Lazaridis against Newcastle.
Oh, yeah.
What a goal that was. 99-2000, Paolo Di Canio against Wimbledon. Probably, viewed as the club's greatest goal, well, certainly in the last 25 years, possibly ever, or since they've been televised anyway. 2000-2001 goal of the season was Paolo Di Canio again against Manchester United, that famous winner in the FA Cup that we spoke about on the Mod Pod briefly earlier this week. 2001-2002, Trevor Sinclair's goal against Derby. I'm fairly certain that was the scissors kick from where I think it was Joe Cole took the corner, or was it someone took the corner short to Cole? It was delivered. I don't think the ball touched the floor, did it? From the point it went from the corner flag to the back of the net. Fantastic goal. Paolo Di Canio again, 2002-2003 for his goal against Chelsea. His last ever goal for the club. That incredibly emotional match where, he left the field in tears. Of course, he had another good shout that season, didn't he, for the goal he scored in the win at Stamford Bridge, which was an astonishing finish from outside the box. 2003-2004, John Harley against Sheffield United. Don't know if you remember that. That was a bit of a long-range scream as well, wasn't it? As I recall correctly. 2004.
John Harley.
There's a real blast from the past. 2004-2005, it had to be, really, didn't it? Bobby Zamora against Ipswich in the away leg of the semi-final. An absolutely fantastic goal that was, and a hugely important goal as well that pretty much sent us through to the final against Preston, where he did the business again, didn't he? 2005-2006, Anton Ferdinand against Fulham. Good night there. I think Yossi Benayoun also scored a belter, didn't he, that night?
Two candidates in the one game, weren't there?
That's right, yeah. It was a 2-0 win, wasn't it? Your goal of the season in 2006-2007, Mark Noble against Bolton in the run-in for the Great Escape. A fantastic strike. 2007-2008, Dean Ashton at Manchester United, that goal at Old Trafford. Was that the goal that put us ahead? I think we went 1-0 up, didn't we?
It was fairly early on in play. It might have been an equaliser. I can't remember now.
Was that Dean Ashton overhead kick?
That's the one.
That's the one. We were losing 3-1, I think. It was a consolation goal.
Oh, okay. Perhaps we can look that up. Perhaps one of you guys could do the research while I'm reading these out. But memory's not what it was. 13 years ago. Winner, the goal of the season 2008-2009. One of my favourite all-time West Ham goals. This scored at Wigan Athletic by Carlton Cole. You'll remember that incredible goal with about 15 or 16 passes, including the likes of Noble and Dee McKaylee. Just an absolutely stunning goal that straight off the training ground at Chadwell Heath. That one under Zola's reign, wasn't it? 2009-2010, Scott Parker's goal against Wigan. Parker taking it also the following year for his strike in the home match against Liverpool. 2011-2012. Really only one contender for this one. It was Ricardo Vazte's winning goal in the playoff final at Wembley against Blackpool. 2012-2013, Mo Diarmi for his goal in the home game against Manchester United. The following season, 13-14, Ravel Morrison for his goal at Tottenham. Was that the Carling Cup game? I think it was a Carling Cup match, wasn't it? The Maisie
was
the league game?
League game.
It was the league game that he scored that one.
We played with no centre forward, which
the famous false nine, of course, of course.
That's actually about most games, most seasons, isn't it? Forward,
false nine.
Yeah, this was deliberately.
Definitely, yeah. 2014-15, that wonder goal from Enner Valencia scored up at Hull City. You remember the goal? He was 20 yards out, wasn't he? Just no backlift, and it went like an absolute rocket into the top corner. 2015-16. Now, if we were talking of all-time goals, this would certainly be up there. Dimitri Payet against Crystal Palace, that fantastic free kick. 2016-17, Andy Carroll, again another brilliant overhead kick against Crystal Palace. And 2017-18 was Pedro, and this was another screamer from a similar position to Valencia's, wasn't it? Obiang's goal in Tottenham.
Oh, Wembley, yeah.
Goal there at Wembley, fantastic goal. And last year, of course, how fortunes change. Talk about Sticking to the words of our song, Felipe Anderson taking the goal of the season last year for that effort against Crystal Palace. I think he cut inside, didn't he? And it was obscene amounts of bend, almost Roberto Carlos-esque in that goal against Crystal Palace, where he bent it round from the left to the right. So
and the Ashton goal was against Man United. It brought back to 3-1. We lost the game 4-1.
There you go.
Right, there you go.
DL, bonus point for you there for getting
and that's for Anderson being Roberto Carlos-esque. Last season, this season, he's just Roberto-esque, isn't it? Really?
Yes, very good, Pinky. Absolutely, yeah, it is. And I'm just wondering if he might feature a bit later, but we shall see. Anyway, we are halfway through the 2019-20 season awards, the 23rd KUMB Awards. Our winners so far in the first 6 categories. Your most missed player is Marko Arnautovic. Your best signing, Thomas Souček. Your worst signing, Roberto, who is also your worst player. Your most improved player, Angelo Ogbonna. And the goal of the season award went to Declan Rice for his strike against Watford, right at the back end of the season in that game that secured our Premier League status for another season. And so we move on. We are into the second half now. We are going on to category number 7, which is the most memorable match. We're going back to Pinky for this one. Pinky, can we have our top 3, please, in reverse order for this most memorable match category?
Yeah, and in third place with 8% of the votes was the 2-0 win against Manchester United early in the season. Typical West Ham, we're flying high, and then 3 days later we go to Oxford United and get done for. But, who'd have it any other way? In second place, after a miserable run with Roberto in goal, we go to the Bridge, end of November, and 17% of the vote is the 1-0 victory over Chelsea. Terrific night that was. But our winner, and this year's KUMB.com's most memorable match, with 2/3 of the vote, 66%, was the 3-2 win against Chelsea, coming as it did when we really needed it. And that's a fairly decent shout there, I think, from the support. Yeah,
a hugely significant evening for the club, and one that sort of set us on the way to staying up, really. Pinky, you called it there, I think, a few minutes ago when you said, if the crowd had been present at the the Olympic that night, it probably would have taken the goal of the season, the winning goal, that is, Yarmolenko's goal, would have taken the goal of the season award as well. But a worthy winner, we think, on this one.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. Sorry, no, please elucidate, sir. Please.
Yeah, no, it's just to say, late winners, had Yarmo scored the exact same goal in the first minute of the match, would he get as many votes as doing it at the end of the game? It's one of those, and I think whether you're in the ground or you're not in the ground has a bearing as well. But a vital win, that just when we needed it, and good old West Ham pulling a rabbit out of the hat just when we most need it. Well done to them that night or that afternoon.
Yeah, it was a funny evening. As we said earlier, DL, we covered that one, didn't we, on Eyes Up Mother Brown? It was one of the games that we covered towards the back end of last season, and it was a strange game because we had a goal disallowed, didn't we? And we thought that the gods of football and VAR would be against us that night, but that's not how it transpired.
No, it was a lovely game indeed. It was one of the ones I wasn't actually there for. It was the first one I missed, where we'd not scored a goal or something or other.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I'm not there, and we go and stuff Chelsea 3-2. It was a superb game. Loved every single minute of it, especially when I work with lots and lots of Chelsea fans. It seems to be Charlton, Gillingham and Chelsea fans where I work, and a handful of West Ham fans. And it was nice going into work following day.
It was also the third time, Briz, that a game versus Chelsea had won the match of the game of the season award. But and of course, both games first and second there this year. The 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge for all sorts of reasons, I guess, which I'm sure we'll come to in due course. picking up the runners-up spot. But you happy with that as a winner?
It's always nice to beat Chelsea. I mean, it's for me, it's one of our big rivals. It's a team we always want to get one over. I just feel a little bit disappointed for the fans. I feel a little bit cheated a bit post-COVID.
Yeah.
It just all the games post-COVID just felt a little flat, and it just felt it lacked that kind of supporter engagement.
Yeah.
So it was a good win for us. I really enjoyed it, but for me, I went for the Man United game just because, we had all the fans in the stadium. It was pandemonium. We played well throughout the entire game. But, people have spoken.
Yes, a pandemonium and a pandemic all in one season, I guess. Noam, you went for this game in a season when, we didn't have an awful lot to cheer. It was a real standout moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And it was like everything was against us. We were playing well, and we had that ludicrously disallowed goal because it was disallowed because if the goalkeeper had been lying on the floor, he wouldn't have been able to see Antonio or something stupid, or would have been able. Yeah, it was just ludicrous. Then it went up the other end, and there's a penalty, and you think, really somebody up there doesn't like us. But it was. I mean. If you're one of those mythical neutrals watching that, you've had 90 minutes plus of great entertainment. It was, if you look back on it without the sort of West Ham thing going on, you think, well, actually, that wasn't a bad game of football overall. Sure. It was exciting to watch. You had crap refereeing, but you had a team that in the end didn't sort of give up. And as I say, last minute winners are always good fun. And I mean, the other game against Chelsea, which came runner up, mainly on the grounds that it was when I think it was the game when we finally lost patience with the person we said we weren't going to mention anymore this evening, and it even had its own chant, didn't it? The "We've got a chance, Martin's in goal" chant. So it proved to be. And I mean, I'm thinking about that away game, and just before the start, Martin's in there, and Noble came along and stood there and had a long chat with him, and I think it helped because having us lot behind him as well, there was that sort of so much well-being, and he made a really good double save, which had VAR got on the end of it, it might have been disallowed had it gone in anyway, but. That sort of throwing himself at it double save, it just did so much for his and the team's confidence. So I think that's the right order though, the 3-2 and the 1-0.
Would you go along with that, Rio? The right order? You obviously went for the winner in your selection.
Yeah, I think it's spot on. I think the gentlemen have summed it up perfectly. That 3-2 game, it had everything, including a happy ending. Because I think on the night, I was panic mode set in. I could just see Chelsea breaking away and score. And we did exactly the opposite. We broke away and scored with the most Yarmolenko type kind of goal you're going to see. Yes, he does it time and time again. But, it was a great night. Could only be topped by actually being there, but obviously circumstances dictated we can't be.
Yes, unfortunate as that may be, it was... I think Pinky, as I said already, Pinky summed it up perfectly. If that had been a full stadium, there would have been an absolute riot inside there when that goal went in, and I think we'd still be celebrating it now. So a very worthy winner, really. I think in a season when there wasn't too much to be enthused by, but of course we could say the 2 wins against Chelsea kept us up in the end. So thanks, guys. We'll take that all day. As I said, it's the third time a game against Chelsea has won the Game of the Season award. Previously, the 1-0 win, which we mentioned a few moments ago in 2002-2003, when Trevor Brooking took control and slung Paolo Di Canio on for the final few minutes, and the Italian scored the winning goal before sobbing his heart out. And also in 2012-13, when we beat them 3-1. Now, I think that was the game when Mourinho was banished to the stands, was it not? Does anyone remember that one?
He usually is.
Yeah.
Well, he usually is. Yes. So.
Yes, it's a safe bet. Yeah.
Yes, fair to say.
Yeah.
Fair to say. But anyway, there you go. So the game of the season, the 3-2 home win against Chelsea, which was won in the final moments by that fantastic strike from Andrei Yarmolenko, who's he's come back and done pretty well towards the end of the season. So thank you, Pinky, for that one. I'm going to move over to DL for this one, actually. Noam, I hope you don't mind stepping aside for this one.
Oh,
because we're going to ask DL to do the young player.
Is he going to do it in the style of Pam Ayres? I think he should.
no. No, I've got to find it now. You've caught me on the hop.
I shall ramble for a few seconds.
I'm organised.
While you dig it out, then.
And if the wife heard that I've said the word "I'm organised," she'd she'd wet herself.
Yes, well, good avoidance there on that. I think we can get away with that one, can't we? I don't think that's considered too bad. That's all right. So, that's not so bad. The young player of the year award. Now, of course, Declan Rice is going for a potential hat trick in this one, having been voted Young Player of the Year in 2017-18 and 2018-19 by you, our readers. Can he do it again? It's the last year he can do it. For those who are unaware, we restrict the Young Player of the Year award to players who are 21 years of age or younger at the start of any particular season. So Declan Rice just about squeezing in this year. Are we ready to go, DL? Have we got those?
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
So let's find out. Has Declan Rice made it 3 wins in a row in this category? The results in reverse order, please.
Right, here we go. Right. In third place, Ben Johnson with 10% of the vote. In second place, West Bromwich Albion loanee Grady Diangana with 12% of the vote. And in third place, and he's on a hat trick, is our Irish come English international, Declan O'Rice.
Declan O'Rice.
With 76% of the vote.
Declan picking up his second.
Well done, Declan.
Yeah, well done indeed. Picking up his second win of the night following his goal of the season award for that effort against Watford. DL, what do you anything to say about that? What do you think? I mean, he's pretty much a shoo-in, wasn't he? Really?
It's a shame that he's not here to actually hear the award, because I just can't. I just envisage him now, as it's his second award, him doing his autistic dance, and that is what he would be doing. And I actually think he's on the spectrum, right? I really do. And if he was, what a role model he would be to other children on the spectrum. But I digress. Yes, there's nobody else that could do it, really. Yeah. Ben Johnson was in with a shout at the end of the season, but it's Declan Rice all the way, isn't it? He's young, he's a player, and he's done all right this season, so he fits the criteria. So, yeah, well done, Declan.
Yeah, absolutely. Just before we come to the rest of you, team, Kent Hammers has pointed out in the chat on YouTube that Jose Mourinho was banished to the stands after Matic's second booking in that particular Chelsea game. So thank you, Kent Hammers, for filling in the holes in our memory there. But anyway, Declan Rice, 3 wins in a row. That's a pretty major achievement. Second win of the night, Noam, our young player of the year. You went for Ben Johnson, though, in this category.
Yeah, I mean, technically, let's face it, it's Declan Rice, really. Yeah. As I said earlier on, I just feel that he'd kind of outgrown the award a little bit, and he'd gone beyond the realms of being a young player. But no, you're right, technically he is, and I can't argue with that at all, really. I was just being contrary, perhaps, in voting for Johnson.
It's actually, I think there's quite a few people that probably voted for him in other categories and felt someone else deserved a chance. So I don't think it was that unusual. There was, quite a few who did it anyway. But Pinky, Declan Rice, Young Player of the Year, 3 seasons in a row. It's the last time he's going to have the opportunity to do it. But should we have a quick word about our runner-up there, Grady Diangana? A strange one, because he didn't kick a ball for West Ham this season, but still finished runner-up in this category. But what a great season he's had down at the Hawthorns.
Yeah, he has, and the note of caution I'd put there is the chasm between the Championship and and the Premier League. And
Sure.
To his credit, he can only beat opponents that he's facing in any given game. He can only do the job he's asked to do in a day, and he's done well for them.
Yeah.
I think, I'm looking forward to this coming season with hopefully him appearing in our colours and getting a decent run out. And if he could clock up, say, 20 to 30 games for us this season, so we can all have a proper look at him, that would be great. But, if you look at what Rice has achieved, already clocked up 87 Premier League games. Yeah. And if he stays fit and he's got a good physique on him, Rice is a player that's going to look at probably 600, 700 games in the top flight of English football. He's got a lot of years ahead of him, and what an outstanding player West Ham United have in him. But so for my money, Rice head and shoulders above the rest. Ian Garner, let's see him do it for West Ham United, and who knows, maybe this time next year he'll be getting an award or two himself. Yeah,
let's hope so. Certainly had a brilliant season. Briz, firstly on Ian Garner, do you see him getting a place at West Ham next season?
No, I think Bowen's ahead of him. I think he plays very similar style to Bowen. I think he plays in the same slot. I can't see Moyes dropping Bowen for Ian Garner, unless he's obviously Bowen gets injured and then he's a great fit for that spot. I watched him a number of games in the Championship and he was really hot and cold, depending on who the opposition were. And if you can't do it at that level consistently, I can't see how he's going to do it for us in the Premiership. I think it's one of those where his reputation is built on other people telling you how good he is rather than actually watching him and seeing him actually play. And again, he was lucky that he's in a good side that were coming up and doing well. I think if he'd have gone to other clubs, he may not have fared so well.
Yeah.
Declan Rice, for me, absolutely outstanding. I can't give the lad enough plaudits. I think he's absolutely brilliant. I think if Chelsea pay 70, 80 million for him, I think they've got a great player even at that price. I think he's fantastic. Can we keep him this summer? Who knows? I think the club's in a bit of a state, and I think that as much as we'd all like to keep him, I think the club could see him as a way to solve a lot of their problems cash-wise. Yes, I mean, certainly if you're looking, I mean, the two players most mentioned as being potential departments are of course, Declan Rice and, as we've seen in the news in the last few days, Issa Diop being linked with a £40 million or so move abroad. But it does kind of seem that one of them's going to go, doesn't it? We'll have to wait and see who that is, if, of course, it is anyone. Rio, Declan Rice, his second award of the evening, well deserved?
Absolutely. This was pretty much a no contest, wasn't it?
Yeah, sure.
He's played every single minute of every single game. He's an established England international. He's developing into an absolute leader on the pitch. He's the fulcrum of our club at the moment. And there really was no contest. I would like to make a little mention of young Ben Johnson, though, who he only played 3 games towards the end of the season. And that was kind of forced upon him, Brad, because Ngakie's untidy departure, Zabaleta retiring. But he's come in after a lot of injury problems over the last year and a half. He looked very, very comfortable in all 3 appearances. He played both sides, and he acquitted himself incredibly well. Now, if we can keep him fit, he'd be a worthy winner next year for me.
Yeah, it's a funny one, that, isn't it? Because he's sort of been on the periphery for some considerable time now, but kind of given the opportunity to play because of Jeremy Ngakie's departure, who I'm sure would have featured in this list at some point had he extended his contract.
Yeah, most certainly. But even so, I think in Johnson's appearances as opposed to Ngakia, he looked a much more composed player. And obviously, he's got the versatility. He's played both sides. He just looks a really, really solid little player. I just really hope that his injury worries are behind him now.
Yeah, that's obviously been his Achilles heel, isn't it? It might even have been his Achilles heel that's been the problem. I don't know. But he's suffered a lot of injuries in recent months and years. So we certainly wish him all the best. But as for our winner, Declan Rice, 3 years in a row, the KUMB Young Player of the Year. As I said before, he's also won the Goal of the Season award this year. So it's turning into quite a decent night for our England midfielder. He might even win another award yet. We'll have to let you know very soon. Moving swiftly on, we're into the last third of this year's KUMB Awards. The 9th category of the evening is the greatest disappointment, and we've had a few of them this year, haven't we? This is always you can always pick loads for this category, unfortunately. But let me just run through briefly, if I can find the page, some of the nominations for this one. So you could have voted for West Ham being involved in yet another relegation battle. Declan Rice's disallowed goal at Bramall Lane against Sheffield United, another victim of VAR there. Football being played without fans present, which was, I think it was Briz was also mentioned earlier. You know, just we spoke about the Chelsea game, Yarmolenko's goal. I mean, the difference was palpable. You know, it was quite incredible how different it was without fans celebrating that. Going out of the FA Cup at home to a second-string West Brom team. Of course, we all remember that dreadfully disappointing performance when we thought we'd made a bad choice with David Moyes. Liverpool finally becoming Premier League champions. Very disappointing for a lot of West Ham fans, that one. Losing 4-0 at League One Oxford United in the Carabao Cup. Oh, what a horrendous night that was. Possibly, one of the worst nights of the season, going back to Roberto again. Losing more points from a winning position than any other Premier League team. DL touched on this earlier. I thought it was 24. DL said he thought it might be 27. But either way, it was a pretty horrendous statistic to look back on for the season. Lucas Fabianski's injury was also a nomination in this category. We all know why that proved to be such a massive disappointment. Opening the season with a 5-0 defeat at home to Manchester City, get off on the right path and all that. And, we had an absolutely, I think it was 1-0 at half time, if I remember rightly, that game, wasn't it? And we fell to pieces in the second half. Of course, we're going to be starting this season with a home game again, but this time against Newcastle. So hopefully we'll do a little better than last season. Finally, throwing away a comfortable lead against Brighton was a nomination, a game in which we led 3-1. David Moyes brought on what's his name, Arthur Masuaku, and everything promptly went to, I can't say that, we're live, aren't we? Fell apart, I think we can safely say. So they were your nominations for the greatest disappointment. Giving us the results of this one, I'm going to pass you over to Bristol Hammer. Briz, our top three in reverse order, please.
Well, in a year of greatest disappointments, I think 2020 will go down as one of the most disappointing years ever. In third place was losing 4-0 at Oxford with 18%. In second place was points lost from a winning position with 28%. And the top one, the one that I voted for as well, was another relegation battle, which had 48%. And rightly so. I think you look at our team, you look at the players that we had, especially on the bench at the end of the season. How the hell were we in a relegation battle? Ridiculous. Yes,
it certainly was. Unfortunately, it all turned out all right in the end, but only just about, didn't it? Do you know what surprises me about this one is that, and this must be a rarity, is that we went out of the FA Cup to a lower league team and it didn't even feature in the top three disappointing moments of the season. That kind of sums it up, Pinky, I think, in a way, doesn't it? What we've witnessed the last 12 months.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, there could have been 100 different entries for this category, so to speak. And, we've commented on it a bit before about aspects of the club and what's going on at the minute about there's a real risk of it dying of apathy. People have just stopped caring. Yeah. But when you see miserable result after miserable result in the league, and you say, "Oh, we're out of the cup," and you just almost shrug your shoulders. Yeah. Just say, "Well, what would you expect?" And there is an element of that, and I think there's a very real risk at the club whereby we are almost. I'm not saying we did it this year, but in recent years, we're almost throwing cup games to the point of we're just not bothering. And that's not a good reputation to have. And I think that's one we need to shake off and shake it off promptly. So, lots of disappointments. And, we've moved grounds. We've given up everything. I've made that point before. And still, we're at the wrong end of the table. Not good enough.
Certainly not. Rio, you went for losing all those points as your nomination in this category, but you think this is a fair shout?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the cycle of mediocrity, which is the most disappointing thing about that. But for me, it's indicative of my choice. It's indicative of how poorly we performed this year.
Yeah.
I made it 24 points as well that we lost from winning positions. And I know you can't guarantee that those points would have come in. But if they had done, we would have finished 5th. And it's a real statement of just how bloody frustrating this club is, isn't it? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And as for the relegation battle, we've been through it. You know what? It kept the season alive in a way, didn't it? So I wasn't overly fussed with that.
Yeah, I guess you could say, looking at the fixture list for next season, we might be facing another one. We've got that horrendous. We did a story on KUMB earlier today, and we looked at the opening fixtures, the opening 7 fixtures for next season in September and October. And in the corresponding games in 2019-20, we picked up a total of exactly 0 points. So if we were to repeat that next season, the coming season, we'd be entering November without a single point on the board. And I'm fairly certain that would lead to another.
I'm already looking forward to the benchmark thread on KUFB. That's one of the very best threads done by one of the contributors. And could you imagine the scenes around Shea Sully? You know, it's November the 1st, and Mr. Moyes is summoned to explain nil point. You know, I mean, yeah. I almost want it to happen just for the comedy value, you know.
Yes, I suppose, you know, he can always point to the last season and say, well, I didn't do any worse than the last bloke. But yeah, it's a shocking start to the season we've got. But anyway, we'll talk about that in the coming mod pods. That's for another evening. DL, greatest disappointment, another relegation. Interestingly, perhaps, this is the first on-pitch form-related winner we've had in this category for 5 or 6 years. The last one was Big Sam Allardyce's style of football. But since then, the winners have been, or have included referees' inconsistency, leaving the bowling ground, cancellation of the anti-ball march in 2018. But do you feel that's a worthy winner again this year? You know, we didn't really expect another relegation battle, did we? 4 years into our tenure at the Olympic Stadium.
And it's a worthy winner, but I wouldn't have had it as the biggest disappointment. The biggest disappointment for me, as I said earlier, was what caused us the points relegation battle in the first place. Losing all those points from winning positions. Absolutely shocking. Hopefully next season the defence will get shored up and we'll stop conceding. It's it's a lot easier to stop conceding 12 goals than it is to get somebody in to score a further 12. And I think that's all our goal difference was, wasn't it, at the end of the season, -12? Just above the relegation zone on -12. You know, it weren't scoring the goals, it was the problem. We let too many in. And that was the biggest disappointment for me, letting too many in after we'd scored. So you never know, maybe next season the biggest disappointment will be that we missed out on the Champions League by a point.
Well, that would certainly be nice. Talking about the goal difference, I'm fairly certain we've only ever finished with a positive goal difference once in the Premier League, and in fact once since that fantastic 85-86 season, which was under Slaven Bilic, was it not? I think we finished with a positive goal difference in 15-16. But anyway, you know, it's certainly nothing unusual at the club. Yeah, no. So it took nearly half of the votes, being involved in a relegation battle. If you can remember, this time last season, we'd just started the campaign. Did you have any inkling or thoughts that we'd end up, having to go to the penultimate game to secure our safety?
No, the early games. I mean, okay, Man City was Man City, but we got on the board. We'd beaten Manchester United, and it wasn't looking too bad down at Bournemouth. And then Fabianski went off, and we didn't win a game until I think the Chelsea away game was the next game that we won.
Yeah,
and it was clear that the defence had no confidence in the keeper. The midfield had little confidence in the defence because they had no confidence in the keeper, who we're not supposed to mention again, I know. But and that turned our season. So it's disappointing that that we were in that relegation battle at all, and that there were myriad reasons for that. The loss of a decent keeper, replaced by one who wasn't, and it just took us too long to get out of that rut. But you rather get the impression that we when things aren't going for us, that we're kind of relying on being at least the fourth worst team in the league to stay up at times. It was, and we've moved to sort of, the idea of moving was that this sort of thing didn't happen anymore. Well,
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I think that's what made it particularly disappointing for, an awful lot of fans that, I mean, football chairmen and club owners and whatnot make promises and say things, but, whilst I'm sure many of us didn't really believe David Sullivan's 7-year plan for getting into the Champions League, I'm fairly certain no one thought that after 4 years, at this new stadium with a capacity twice the size of Upton Park, that we would be in this situation. So hopefully, I say hopefully, that we won't be in this situation again, but we're looking at another summer where we're told the club is skint and we can't really improve the squad to any great degree. So who knows? Perhaps we'll be back here again next year. But anyway, that's something to worry about in the future. We did escape in the end. We managed to stay up. But, that we were in that situation in the first place was enough for our readers to vote it as the winner in our most disappointing category this year. We have but 3 categories left to go in the 23rd annual KUMB Awards tonight. The 10th one, by the way, I like this one. This is a fun one. The Hackett of the Year Award. This is a category that is won by the person who is most cheesed, I nearly said the word, who's most cheesed off the West Ham fan base over the course of the last year or so. Some of the previous winners of this have been Dave Whelan, the chairman of Wigan, was the first winner of this category in 2006-07. If I remember rightly, that was for backing Sheffield United's claim to have West Ham relegated to the Championship as a result of the Carlos Tevez affair. Yeah. The following year, for very much the same reason, pretty much, Kevin McCarb, the old Sheffield United chairman, who took the money and ran in the end, didn't he? Was the winner. Lord Griffiths. This is how much of an issue this was for West Ham fans. The Tevez affair won this award 3 years in a row. Lord Griffiths for his decision following that memorable tribunal. Won it in 2008, 2009. Ida Good-Johnson's won it before. Avram Grant, Barry Hearn, for stuff he said about West Ham's chances of moving to the Olympic Park, won it 2 years in a row. Chico Flores. Now, who can remember why Chico Flores won it? Remember that incident?
Carroll looked at him in a funny way and he threw himself to the ground.
That's right. And who could forget? And I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but Sam Allardyce's reaction to that was just fantastic when he literally laughed in his face. Didn't he? Yeah. It was a sensational moment, that. Kenny Brown's Thieves won it the year after that. I don't think they ever found out the perpetrators actually, who broke into Ken Brown's house and stole all his winners, FA Cup winners, European Cup winners, Cup medals, and so forth. Roy Hodgson in 15-16. I think, was that when he refused to call up Mark Noble for England, something like that? I can't quite remember. Dimitri Payet won it in 16-17 for the manner in which he left West Ham. The scoundrel. Did a runner, didn't he, back to Marseille, where he's actually performing brilliantly to this day, still doing the business over there in France. And a winner in 17-18, Karen Brady. Can I get a boo? There we go. Karen Brady won in 17-18. And last year, the winner was Simon Beck, who the name won't be familiar, but if you remember the home game against Liverpool, where James Milner's goal was allowed to stand, Simon Beck was the linesman on that particular occasion who refused to put his flag up, despite the incident happening no more than 3 yards in front of him, where he could clearly see.
10 years he's been here, and not once has David Sullivan got Hackett of the Year.
That's very true. The board has had a few nominations, but yeah, I think they're featured once or twice in the top 3. But no, you're absolutely right, Dio. He's never won it. Karen Brady, of course, the only winner, and she was the runner-up last year as well. So she, like Declan Rice, could feature 3 times in a row.
Maybe this award goes to somebody for a specific incident. Yeah, it tends to go that way rather than sort of general fed-upness with the situation.
Well, one thing I can tell you tonight is that for the first time ever, this award has gone to a non-human. So
it's Sullivan.
Yeah.
So very good, very good. So I'm going to pass you over now, without further ado, to Rio, who's going to reel off the top 3 and tell us who scored what. Rio, the Hackett of the Year for 2019-20, please.
So in third place with 12% of the votes, the IFAB handball law. In second place with 13% of the votes, it's what's rigged the world for the last 6 or 7 months, COVID-19. And the winner, and well-deserved, with a 52% share of the vote, VAR.
There you go. As I said, the first non-human winner of the Hackett of the Year award. And in fact, none of the top 3 were they? Which is quite unusual. But Rio, VAR, tell me about it. What a nightmare it's been.
Yeah, it's sucking the life, it's sucking the soul, it's sucking entertainment out of football. Nobody knows how it works, particularly the people in charge of it. They're using software from the 1980s. It just doesn't work. I've said this on podcasts, on live games as well. Football's a game of human error.
Mm-hmm.
Be that official, player, whoever. Don't make it too clinical. Keep the passion in it. Keep the emotions. You don't want to be going to a ground, scoring a last-minute winner, as we did against Chelsea, then be panicking because is it going to be disallowed? You know, this is not how football works. Football's been a brilliant game for over 125 years. You know, don't kill it. But that's what you're doing. You're killing the game with VAR.
Okay. Here's the thing, though. Talking about VAR, I'm fairly certain we wouldn't have been given that penalty at Old Trafford on the, right at the end of the season there. So, if we hadn't have had VAR, so perhaps it can be positive. That was the idea, wasn't it? That it was supposed to level the playing field a little bit.
Well, I beg to differ about that one, Gray, because it was given immediately. And it was only checked by VAR. It wasn't one that the ref missed.
Yeah, but I wonder if the referee, point being, I wonder if the referee would have given it if he didn't have this, VAR to fall back. And I think that's the point here.
He blew up pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think there's way too many errors being made.
Yeah.
And way too much emotion and passion being taken out of the game. It's slowing things down.
Yeah.
It's going to get to a stage next season, if it carries on in the manner it has done.
Mm.
If we are allowed back in stadiums, we have a night game. We ain't getting home till midnight, getting out the ground, because we might be checking that someone's toenail is a millimetre out off. Ugh, no, get rid of it.
Get rid of it, says Rio. Briz, VAR, 52% took more than half the votes. Clear winner in this category this year. Can it ever work?
I don't think so. Not in football. I think Rio's exactly right. I think football's a game of passion. I think it's a game of in the moment. If we're going to sit around waiting for video screens, we might as well go and watch Match of the Day and not bother. Mm-hmm. Football's in a really precarious position at the moment. We've got people not turning up at stadiums. Fans have had breaks from the game. There's a bit of apathy setting in. If people are going to pay good money to go and watch matches, they're not going to pay it. They're going to stand around waiting on some computer screen to kind of boot up and go into some geometry mode to find out whether or not someone's hair was offside for a goal. That's not how football's played. And people will get bored of it and they'll turn off. They'll just switch off and they'll leave it. You can go and play FIFA if that's what you want to do. For me, it's ruining the game and we've got to get rid of it.
Okay, pretty unequivocal from Rio and Bristol Hammer there with regards to the future of VAR. DL, would you agree? Do you think anything could be done? I mean, could it be better if they set a time limit perhaps for decisions to be made, or is it just a complete waste of time?
The way it's been implemented the last season has been its failure. Okay. Going back to the spontaneity taken away, even when goals were scored and there was a little nudge in the area or something like that. I've been to games where we've had to sit on our hands because he's got to consult with his linesman and stuff like that before the goal's actually been given. VAR, I think, does have a place in the game. I'm not going to rule it out entirely. What I think should happen is the referee has more control by using the pitch side monitors. So he's the one that makes the decision. I think one of the biggest failings is that it's being looked at on screens miles away. Miles away from the ground. There's been some blatant errors. Same with normal refereeing. There's also been no consistency. It's been used not to get rid of the clear and obvious errors. It's being used to clinically on the offsides. It should be not that somebody's armpit's off, not that somebody's toe off. If you're offside, there should be clear daylight. Things like that. It shouldn't be so clinical. Instead of it being to award teams goals that they wouldn't otherwise have had that were legal, instead what it seems to be doing is trying to disallow the goals.
Good point.
If it's implemented properly, I think it could be a success. It doesn't need to take 3-4 minutes to have a look. If it's going to take that length of time, give the goal or give the foul, give the penalty, because it's not a clear cut and obvious error. You're then nitpicking. So I do think it does have a place in the future of the game, just not the way it's being implemented by RFA at the moment.
Okay, some excellent points there, Dale. Thank you for that. Noam, you are a fan of cricket, of course. We've seen TV umpires used in cricket for some years, and it's actually enhanced the game, you could say, in some ways. But cricket is a much slower game than football, isn't it? Is that the reason why it couldn't work in
Yeah,
in
I mean,
League?
you have natural breaks in which, I mean, after after an appeal, nothing's going to happen for the next minute or two in any case, while they sort of feed the ball back to the bowlers. So similarly, rugby, it's very much more stop-start. So I think there might be I'm very loath to try and sort of divorce the professional game from the game that you and I both play to varying degrees of ability over the years. And I dislike anything that I mean, VAR, it means that now the game is different at the Olympic Stadium than it is to Hackney Marshes up the road.
Yeah.
And one of the joys of football was always that, you had exactly the same, whether it was 22 guys on Hackney Marshes or 22 guys at the bowling or wherever.
Yeah, but hasn't that already happened with goal line technology, and that seems to have been accepted?
Yeah, I mean, to a certain degree. Goal line technology, and we'll leave the Villa game out of this because that basically failed for a number of. There was a sort of a 1,000,000 to 1 chance that none of the 7 cameras worked. So
apart from the one that the millions on TV were watching, of course.
Yeah, well, Michael Oliver could see that ball had gone in, and that was down to him. It was his decision. So goal line technology is one thing, and let's face it. I mean, that's here to stay. It kind of works pretty quickly, normally, unless it's Michael Oliver, instantly that it's not gone in. And it doesn't interrupt the flow of the game because when everyone looks at the referee, he just points at his watch. Now, if he's, take Michael Oliver's thing to its logical conclusion, you'll see the ball hit the back of the net and he'll be going, oh, nearly had one there, But what worries me is that VAR could be used, if used properly, to sort of iron out wrinkles, to stop rogue referees, if you like. And we all know who they are, the ones who make decisions that just defy logic, but they happen to be on telly. But it's not being used in that way.
Yeah. And
if they put half as much effort into improving standards on the pitch, of refereeing on the pitch, then I wouldn't say VAR wouldn't be necessary because we're now in this multi-million-pound industry where it's not going to go away. But you just wish they'd put that effort into improving refereeing standards rather than let referees sort of protect themselves and mark themselves and say everything in the garden's rosy when clearly those of us who go every week would beg to differ.
We have got to the 10th category of the evening without PGMOL being mentioned, but he's got it in there in the end.
I did mention it. You mentioned them. I just talked about
we know who you were referring to. But yeah, I mean, some really valid points. Can't really argue with anything you said there. Yeah, it's we've seen some shocking decisions. Pinky, I'm looking forward to this. Talk to me about VAR, brother.
Oh, VAR. It's a passion killer. I mean, you're there at a game, you're chasing a result, you bang one in, you're going wild, and then you see the dreaded VAR review decision pending go up on a big screen somewhere, unless you're at Anfield, of course, because they don't have a big screen. So how does that work? Just as an example, not every club's got a big screen. You've then got the situation of the selective use of it. What started out as clear and obvious quickly turned into, we're going to check every single goal for offside.
Yeah.
And yet every single corner kick in every single game I have seen in the last 30 years, there have been anywhere between 12 and 15 fouls committed in the penalty box that are never ever given as penalties. So why isn't VAR used for that? Because they are clear and obvious fouls being committed, but it's not being used for that, because games obviously would end up 18-15 and things like that. I think as well, for the English game, it has a peculiar impact, because the pace of the game in our league, as an average, is helter-skelter stuff. And I'm a bit perplexed as to why we introduce things like ever-increasing number of substitutes, both tactical and fitness reasons, because the game's getting quicker. And then we're now trying to slow it down with VAR breaks and drinks breaks. And, it's kind of like the law of unintended consequences. If you have 3 VAR checks per half of anything up to 2.5 minutes, that can give players an awful lot of time to get some gas back in their lungs and their legs. Mm-hmm. So I think it's fundamentally changing the competitive aspect of the sport unwittingly. I think it's a disaster. I think it's here to stay, because we all know that TV pays the bills. And for the armchair viewer, VAR, I'll just get up, make a cup of tea, get a bottle of beer out of the fridge, whatever it may be. But for the match attending supporter, who are the real lifeblood of the game, it's a shocker. It's an absolute.
Is it good TV though?
Is it good TV? I'm not sure that it is. I think it's one of those things that if you're watching a game in the pub and it comes with VAR, if it's your team you're watching, you pay attention.
Yeah.
But you know what? Crystal Palace against, Southampton, VAR. Pint of bothered, please, barman. Who cares unless you're a Palace or a Southampton fan? And that's where the problem comes into it. It just kills the flow of the game for everybody else. And the worry for me is the people that are introducing this stuff, they know this. They know it, but they're still doing it.
Yep. Okay. Thank you, team. There's some really, really good points on VAR. Every single one of you voted that as your winner for the Hackett of the Year award. So no surprise really that it's gone that way. It is, of course, as we know, here to stay, whether we like it or not. So maybe we'll be here again this time next season, celebrating a double for VAR winning Hackett of the Year. That much remains to be seen. That is the winner. We did mention Karen Brady, so I should perhaps say that was the first time our vice chair has not appeared in the top 3 of the Hackett of the Year award since 2015-16. So congratulations, I guess, Karen. Well done. Anyway, moving swiftly forward, we are down to our penultimate category now. It is a brand new category. and it's a positive one. We've spent enough time looking at the the Robertos and the all the missed points and relegation battles and that. So we're going to end the evening on a high with a couple of bigly positive categories. The first one, we're going over to the Pink Palermo to give us the results of this one. It is the most memorable moment category. Pinky, the top 3 in reverse order, please.
Okay, and in third place, since this is a positive award, it was 8,000 people joining the protest march, and depending on your viewpoint, the club could view that positively because it was only 8,000, and the supporters there could view positively because it was 8,000. But in third place, that was the protest march with 14%. I mean, talk about a hard school. Second place, you're banging 4 goals, and your runner-up, Michael Antonio. I mean, you look at that and you're thinking, even as his fourth's going in, he must think, do you know what? I'm nailed on for that KUMB.com most memorable moment. But oh no, because he'd already been stuffed 6 months previously, away at the bridge. A very emotional night for those of us that were there, and none more so than for the great Alvin Martin and his son David. David that night making his debut for the famous West Ham United. Let's be clear here. He's picked up 2/3 of the votes in the category, but David Martin's had a very good career as a professional footballer. I mean, that may have been his debut for West Ham United, but he'd played 405 games for other clubs as a professional footballer. He'd been in Liverpool's Champions League squad on 2 occasions. There's a question of sport question years to come. Name the West Ham United keeper that featured in 2 Champions League squads. But it was his debut, and we'd been on a dreadful run of form, huge pressure on him. Imagine that, your dad's Alvin Martin, club legend, all the rest of it. And that might have helped in a way, because the goodwill from the support that night was, the players would have felt it. And you think, you've just picked up 1 point from 18, and that's the level of support that you get from West Ham United supporters when we're in the zone, so to speak. So that kind of transmitted itself. But at the end of the game, David comes off the pitch, clearly, a little bit emotional, had a massive hug from his old man. What a moment. What a moment. And you look at that and you think, that's what sport's about. Forget the money, forget even the trophies. It's that rare moment where you just say, yeah, top stuff that. And, they romped it this year. And poor old Antonio scores 4 and he's miles behind.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone would agree it was, a thoroughly, well, everyone on the panel certainly voted for it. DL, did you shed a tear or two at the end there when David had a little bit of a cuddle with his dad in the stand?
Without meaning to sound harsh, no, I didn't, because I was actually.
You hard thing.
No, I was at work that day, so I never actually see it. I was really plodding about the Medway towns in my bus, and I didn't even know the result or anything until I got home. So, no, I kind of missed the moment and caught the end. So, yeah, I thought it was very, what's the word? Very, very poignant and very sweet, but I missed it. So,
didn't have quite the same impact for you then as it might have done.
No, I just read about it, then saw it, and then oh yeah. So no, it wasn't quite the same as those that saw it live or on the box at the time. Yeah,
but what a it's a fairy tale, wasn't it? A fairy tale come true for David.
It's probably what they've been wanting for ever since he became a professional footballer. So from that point of view, yeah, of course, it was a beautiful moment.
It was indeed.
I'm quite sad that I didn't see it at the time.
Breeze, you have been a very proud parent yourself this week, of course. But what about that? I mean, words. It's tough to describe. I mean, what an incredible moment it was.
again, especially for supporters of our age group, you got the bloke that we used to watch being rock solid in defence, who'd had a terrible run. The keeper's played his socks off, and he's gone to see his dad and said, "How about that, Dad?" And his dad looked at him, just give him the nod and said, "That's proper West Ham." And to me, that it just felt like the old West Ham again, seeing those two together. That just moment that we used to have as fans when you were that close to the pitch and you'd engage with the players, that you kind of, so far away from the pitch now, you need a bus to go and see them. But to me, it was proper old West Ham. That was a West Ham moment, and I just thought it was fantastic. I can't echo anything else that, everyone else is going to say on this. It's just absolutely brilliant.
And do tell us why you've been a proud parent this week.
Yeah, I've been a very, very proud parent. My oldest daughter's passed her A-levels, and despite being horrendously cheated by the VAR of the government in doing A-level result, she's gone to university. And my youngest daughter's passed 8 GCSEs today at A and Bs, which is absolutely fantastic. So very proud of my 2 girls this week.
Good stuff. Well done, Briz Juniors. Can we give the girls a name check?
Yeah, so Jasmine, my oldest, she's off to Plymouth University, and Taylor, my youngest, and she's off to do animal husbandry at Western-super-Mare College. So good for her.
Fantastic. Well done, young ladies. And clearly you've got your mother's brains there, I think it's fair to say.
And looks.
And hopefully the looks.
And hopefully the looks. No, well done. A fantastic achievement. But Rio, you're a father yourself. We all, those of us that have spawned offspring, get the odd moment like that where we feel intense pride from what our kids have achieved. I'm sure you could understand that reaction from Alvin on that day at Stamford Bridge.
Absolutely. I'm also a sentimental old fool and all. Yeah, I mean, Alvin Martin for me is a 99.9999% recurring West Ham legend. I will point out the missing 0.0001 a moment. But to see his reaction to his boy after the game, there wasn't a dry eye here, I'll tell you. I went out for a glass of water and calm down a little bit. It's just, that's the beauty of football. It can draw every single emotion possible going. And that, for me, was not only the moment of the season, it's probably the moment of the last 2 or 3 seasons, to be honest. I just love it. I just absolutely loved that moment. It was absolutely brilliant.
I can almost feel you welling up there now, just reminiscing about it. It was just wonderful, and I think you and Pinky have called it absolutely spot on there, and that is what football is really about. Forget the multi-million-pound transfers and the banter between you and your mates, which is obviously still quite a vital component, but things like that, those rare, unexpected moments of just pure joy. I mean, it's only football can do that, really, can't it? I guess. But
and it's not just that; it's the fact that he actually walked up into the stands, directly after the game, still in full kit. It wasn't done in private; it was done in the heat of the moment, spontaneously, and that is it. That is it for me. Yeah,
spontaneity, pure, unabashed joy, really, just a brilliant. You're going to have me going in a minute at this rate. No, help me out here before I descend into a pool of tears. Of course, David had received a few hugs before he got to the stand. I remember Mark Noble racing over to greet him upon the final whistle and giving him a huge cuddle. But
I think all the players were appreciative.
Yeah.
Because he had quite apart from anything else, he had a good, solid game.
Yeah.
We mentioned VAR sucking all the emotion out of the game. Well, there was something that reminded you that there is something in the game worth keeping for all the, as you say, the multimillionaires and the big stuff and everything. I've been fortunate enough to meet Alvin a number of times. Just an anecdote about him. I think last season, the season before last now, we played Leicester, and we had a dodgy offside decision go against us. So this is when I was sort of allowed in the press room, and I had my little brother Jeff with me. Those of you who don't know, Jeff has Down syndrome, and and loves coming to football. And we bumped into Alvin waiting for the lift to get down to the press room. And I introduced Jeff. I said, Jeff, this is Alvin. He won the FA Cup with us. Alvin, meet Jeff. And Alvin shook his hand. And obviously, it's clear with Jeff, he does have a speech issue. But Alvin was absolutely brilliant with him. Just started talking about the game like we're talking now, not anything condescending.
Yeah.
And it was just marvelous, just the way he spoke to me, little brother. And yeah, I'll never forget him for that. And it was just everything that football is about, really, that emotion. And let's face it, the triumph of good against evil in that particular case as well. It was great. And VAR, you can try and suck the life out of it, but we ain't going anywhere.
Love that. Brilliant. Well done, chaps. That was great. And I should, of course, stress that Jeff is a far more competent cricketer than you ever were as a footballer, I think it's fair to say.
No, he's a better cricketer than I am, but he was never as good I was a much better footballer than he's a cricketer. I got goals to prove it, trophies to prove it.
Bit of sibling rivalry there, I think. Well, anyway, I'll take your word for that one. But yeah, there you go. Our first ever most memorable moment of the season award, and what a fully deserved winner it was. The moment when Alvin and David Martin embraced in the stands following West Ham's 1-0 win at Chelsea. A game, of course, let's not forget, and as has been pointed out, David had a fantastic game as well, having been thrown in at the deep end as a replacement for our replacement goalkeeper. But there you go. So that's the 11th category of the night. We've only got one more to go, and it's the big one. It is the KUMB.com, the Knees Up Mother Brown Player of the Year. We are looking to crown a 21st winner of this category before we get onto it. And before I ask Noam to run down the top three, I shall run you briefly through our previous winners. First one was John Hartson, 98. 99, Steve Lomas. Rio, I'm sure you backed that one.
Oh, yeah, all the way.
2000, Paolo Di Canio. Stuart Pearce, who's come back to the club, of course, this week, was the KUMB Player of the Year in 2000-2001. The following season, Sebastian Schemmel. What a season he had, and what a dreadful season he had the following year. Joe Cole took it in 2003, the relegation season, left after we'd barely finished announcing him as the winner of that particular award for Chelsea. Matthew Everington in 03-04. Teddy Sheringham in 2004-2005. Danny Gabidon, 2005-2006. Our first season back in the Premiership, as it was then. The Great Escape. It's only ever going to go to one player in that year, wasn't it? Carlos Tevez, who Lord Griffiths determined was worth at least 3 points to the team in that run-in, the silly old sod. 2007-2008, Robert Green took the award. Goalkeeper Scott Parker, as I mentioned earlier, won it for the next 3 years in succession, as was the case with the Hammer of the Year award. 2011-12. Now, I think this was the year where our Player of the Year differed for the one and only time to the Hammer of the Year. I'm fairly certain Mark Noble won the Hammer of the Year award, but we gave our award, or our readers gave the KUMB Player of the Year award to James Tompkins that season. 12-13, Winston Reid won it. Mark Noble did actually pick it up in 13-14. Aaron Cresswell, 2014-15. How things have changed, how his fortunes have changed in the last 5 years. 15-16, the mighty Dimitri Payet, one of my favourite players at West Ham in the Premier League era. Manuel Lanzini, another one whose stock's really fallen, in 16-17 took it. Marco Arnautovic in 17-18, and our most recent winner last season, Lucas Fabianski. But that was then, and this is now. Noam, who is the winner of our big award tonight? The top three, please, in reverse order.
One moment.
Is there a gold envelope? Oh, it's a white envelope.
A white envelope. They've run out of gold.
We did have gold, of course. Remember, not so many years ago at the Live Awards.
Okay, and I've worn the bow tie all night, and I can't wait to get the damn thing off. So I'm sweating like a pig here. But okay, In third place with, sorry, my eyes are going there, 14% of the vote is Mikhail, some say Michael, Antonio. In second place with 29% of the vote is Angelo Ogbonna. But the pretty much runaway winner with 56% of the vote, not his first award of the evening, is Declan Rice.
Congratulations to Declan Rice. Thank you, Noam, picking up his third KUMB Award of the evening to follow his Goal of the Season Award and Young Player of the Year Award. We have mentioned, Rio, I think it was, said that, he'd played every single minute of every game so far. So far, it's finished now. Played every single minute of every game last season. I don't think he's going to play anymore. It's unlikely. Noam, talk to me about Declan Rice. What a fantastic season he's had. What a fantastic ambassador he's becoming for West Ham United. And, of course, given the captain's armband towards the end of the season.
Yeah, if we can keep hold of him, that'll be an armband that'll be his pretty much permanently, I'd imagine. Fine player and enjoying himself. Good luck to the lad. Just want to see him stay a few more years, please. Which that may not necessarily be something that happens, but no, just a fine young player, and I can't argue with that result at all.
Yep.
And also being half Irish, of course, it's also although very much an England supporter, it helps me to wind up the rest of my family.
Yeah, and also I think it's fair to say, Briz, a fine young man he's developing into as well, and a real professional with a fantastic work ethic.
Absolutely. If ever there was the example of an old head on young shoulders, it's Declan Rice. Absolutely superb, worthy winner.
Yep. Rio, how good can Declan Rice be? I mean, Pinky said earlier that he could go on to make 700 Premier League appearances. Could he be a West Ham great?
If we could keep hold of him, it is beyond, but not beyond doubt. He's a borderline one already. In a really testing season, he's absolutely shone. As has been said by Noam, he's not only a fine young player, he's a fine young man.
Mm-hmm.
His stuff that he did with Dennis Lepine towards the end of, sadly, his tenure on this planet, just shone out a little bit more, But Declan Rice is head and shoulders the future of West Ham, for as long as we can actually keep hold of him. He's got a bit of captain. He's a natural born leader. He's an immense player, and he's only getting better. I mean, how old is he now? 21?
21, yeah, still 21.
Footballers don't develop into their prime until 28, 29, 30. Just how good can he get?
Mm-hmm.
It's frightening to actually think about how good he can actually be.
Yeah, and he certainly got off to a flying start, hasn't he? DL, good to have you back on screen.
I've been back a while, but I'm not going to go through the embarrassment to say what I've done. I had the YouTube stream on, and when I came back from using the loo, I was still there. So I've been doing my own little thing, and I've gone on Zoom, and I'm like, oh, okay. Hi.
It's been a long night, mate. I'm sure we can offer you that in your defence.
Where's that worth signing award?
Yeah, I mean, Declan's a worthy winner. I would have given it to Angelo personally. I've given me reasons why, but I'm excited to see who's going to get it next year. We've got some exciting new talent coming to the squad in January in the name of Bowen and Souček. The season can't be any worse than this season, can it?
Hopefully not.
We could get relegated, but I don't think we will. I'd like to see someone else win it next year. I'd like to see Rice still be here next year. That's the thing. Can he make it? Can he get 4 years in a row of winning awards? I don't know. He might get Chelsea Player of the Year. You never know.
How fundamental do you think he's been to? Let's also not forget that he's been sort of shunted from pillar to post a little bit in one sense, because he's been played at centre half as well. It's only really this season that he's cemented his position in the club's midfield, isn't it?
If he was a West Ham fan, if he had come through an academy from a young age, I actually think he would do a noble. I really do. Unfortunately, he's not. He is instrumental for us, and he could very well be the next Mark Noble, to the point of where he's the one that holds it all together over a period of 2 decades, 3 decades actually, isn't it? Noble's played for us now. So
I guess so. Yeah,
it's the 3rd decade that he's in. Declan's got the opportunity to do that, but he's going to be an ambitious young guy. He's going to want to win trophies. The only thing that he feels for us, I would imagine, is the fact that we gave him a chance after he was dumped by Chelsea. I think we know where his heart is. So unfortunately, he's not going to be the next Mark Noble. He's
very much a case of enjoying him while he's here. Then
just enjoy him while you can. At the end of the day, we know he's a Chelsea fan, like we know Scott Parker was a Tottenham fan.
Yep.
It's only going to be a matter of time. In an ideal world, he'll get a massive offer from abroad, and then we haven't got to watch him week in, week out in the Premier League, and he's turning it on for Barcelona or Real Madrid or Juventus or whoever. That I'd actually be comfortable with. It's going to be like walking down the street and seeing the bird that you split up with, walking with some Adonis when he pulls on another English club shirt. I'm not looking forward to the day.
Well, let's hope if it does happen, it's a long way away yet. Pinky, you mentioned Declan's efforts, at Dennis's funeral earlier in the year. There's a real sense of sort of kinship. I feel between him and the West Ham fan base, and it's not something that I normally see with young players emerging. Like you look at your Ngakias and Ben Johnsons. There doesn't seem to be that kind of affinity, I guess, that I see with Declan Rice. I just wonder if that might be the thing that does keep him here for a little bit longer than expected. But first of all, what about his season? I mean, fantastic he's been, has he not?
I mean, you can't do more than play every minute of every game.
Yeah.
And play well in those games. I mean, it wasn't just a case of he's on the pitch because there's no one else. He was on the pitch because he deserved to be there, and turned in some sparkling performances. And, because of his physique, playing in midfield, play him in central defence. Frankly, at this point in time, play him almost anywhere.
Yes,
Teams enjoy the game. He's clearly got the respect of his teammates. So he does the business on the pitch. And I think if you're a West Ham United supporter, that's the first thing you want to see, is a player that actually gives his all week in, week out. If then, after that, they turn out to be a really decent human being off the pitch, that raises them up another notch. And, I think Declan, he's well-grounded. He's a sensible chap, and he's showing maturity, because one of the things that, we spoke at the top of the show about Arnautovic engineering a move away from West Ham United, and, got a resounding thumbs down from the panel here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Declan Rice, because of the way he has behaved, if another club came in with a huge bid and the club decided to sell him, I don't think there's going to be a raft of West Ham United supporters saying bad things about Declan Rice. And that's kind of tells us about how well he's developed as a professional, because it's an awkward situation. He'll read the papers, he'll read social media, he'll know all the rumours and all the rest of it. And most of all, he will know what he's agreed with David Sullivan.
Yeah.
Because when he got his new contract, a year, 18 months ago, David Sullivan, I'm pretty certain, would have said to him, look, Declan, do you know what? at some point we may well end up selling you, but I need X amount of games from you, or another season, whatever it may be. And I've just got a sneaking feeling that we might see one more season from Declan Rice. And who knows? Who knows? If we get that season, it could turn into another season after that, because I've said before, part of the attraction at Chelsea is his big mate is, Mason Mount. Well,
yep.
What happens if he gets moved on from Chelsea? Let's say Mount ends up going to, say, Leicester City because Leicester have knocked out a player to somebody else. Would Chelsea hold the same attraction then to Declan Rice? Maybe, maybe not. I quite like DL's idea of, a mega bid from an overseas club.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking very much Frankie de Jong going to Barcelona for 60 million euros last year. Where does Rice compare? If that was the benchmark for de Jong, who hasn't really set the world alight at Barcelona,
no, he hasn't, has he?
You'd have to say Rice would look a better player, a different kind of player, but you'd say there'd be some top European clubs would be looking at Declan Rice and going, do you know what? He'd be worth a punt and at big money. I hope it's not for at least another year, maybe longer, but a terrific footballer, a good all-round decent person, and deserved his award tonight. And, hope he has a great career.
Yeah, lovely stuff. Fantastic night, of course, for Declan Rice on the KUMB Awards. 3 trophies, or 3 categories. He's won Goal of the Season, Young Player of the Season, and, of course, Player of the Season. Briz, I'm going to come back to you on this, buddy, just to finish here, because I'm aware that your reply was fairly short in the roundup there. But just wanted to touch on his international career. How, we see players these days far exceeding, the kind of numbers that players would perhaps reach in the 60s and 70s and 80s because of the amount of international games that are played at the moment. How many caps do you think Declan Rice? Do you think he could even go on to beat Bobby Moore's total of 108? I think it was. Who's got the record? Is it Shilton? That's 120 odd.
Yeah.
Can he? What I'm saying is he in that sort of company? Can he go on and make more than 100 caps for England?
He can. I think the sad thing about it is I don't see him doing that with West Ham. I think you know the history of West Ham players getting picked for England.
Yeah,
we've always kind of been down that lane. We're always a club that's looked down upon by the FA in England.
Yeah.
I think he can. I think to do that he's going to have to move.
But he's there already, of course, isn't he? He's already an established international.
He is, but I think he's more there on the fact that he's had a lot of good press and we've had a lot of injuries in England. I think he could be. I think if he gets a bigger club, I think he's a shoe-in. I think the problem is he plays for West Ham, and that's always been the case for us as a team. We've had some really good players down the years who haven't had a shout with England because they played for West Ham United. Trevor Brooking had a decent career with England, but it could have been better. You look at Mark Noble. You look at Dixie even. You go back to the times when Dixie didn't get a shout for England when we were really struggling in that department. It's always been us as a club that's looked down on. And I think in order for Declan Rice to become the pinnacle of a player that I think he can be, I think he's going to have to move. And that's really sad for us. And I think it shows just as a club where we are at the moment. We're the only club that's won the World Cup. You look now and you think, are people looking at us as a club and saying this is where the future of England comes from?
Yeah.
I don't think so anymore. And I think that you're looking around at some of those other clubs, your Chelsea's, your Man United's, not so much your Arsenal's, but your Tottenham's, and saying this is where the future of English football comes from. West Ham has not seen us that anymore, and it's a shame, but it's where we've got to now within the stature of the game. And don't get me wrong, Declan Rice is going to be a very, very good player wherever he goes. But in terms of international career, I think he needs to move to cement that.
Okay, good stuff. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your input tonight. It's the first time we've ever done the KUMB Awards online, so to speak. It's been been a good night. I'm just going to run quickly through the 12 winners. The winner of the most missed category was Marko Arnautovic. Our best signing, Thomas Souček. Worst signing, Roberto. The most improved player, Angelo Ogbonna, who also took the runners-up spot, as we mentioned a few moments ago, in the Player of the Year category. Maybe would have done even better if we hadn't have had a break in the season. You know, for some months he was flying before lockdown. The worst Player of the Year, Roberto. Goal of the season, Declan Rice for that fantastic strike against Watford. But the most memorable match, the 3-2 defeat of Chelsea, brought about by Andrei Yarmolenko's last-minute winning goal. Young Player of the Year, Declan Rice, his second award of the evening. Greatest disappointment being yet another relegation battle. Let's hope we're not saying the same next year, or as DL said earlier, even worse. The Hackett of the Year trophy for the first time ever to a non-human went to VAR. And the most memorable moment, our new category, went to David and Alvin Martin for their embrace following the 1-0 win at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. Finally, your Player of the Year for the first ever time. He is the KUMB Player of the Year. He's Declan Rice at the age of 21. What a career he has got ahead of him. We can only hope, as the team have said, that it is with West Ham United, or at least for a few more seasons yet. That remains to be seen, but that is just about it for the 23rd Annual KUMB Awards. Thank you to everyone who joined us live on our YouTube channel. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so you can be informed when our fresh content is published. My thanks go to my fellow KUMB moderators, Bristol Hammer, the Pink Palermo, Rio, Gnome, and DL for helping me to bring you the results of this year's poll. And finally, our collective thanks go to each and every one of you who voted, and by doing so, keeps our Alternative Supporter Awards very much alive. If you'd like to discuss tonight's awards or anything else regarding West Ham United for that matter, you can do so by visiting the KUMB forum via our website at Knees Up Mother Brown, kumb.com. If you haven't already registered a forum account, which will enable you to join in the plethora of conversations, membership is free and simply requires an email account to join. So until next year, when we plan to return for the 24th Annual KUMB Awards. God, the first one seems such a long time ago now. Look after yourselves and come on, you Irons.
Oh, come on, you Irons.
Oh, you Irons.
Can I swear yet?
No.